I was considering wearing my dragon shirt, or one of my dragon shirts, for this movie review, because originally when I went into the movie I thought it was going to be about dragons attacking the Great Wall. Boy, was I wrong. I wasn't able to see a lot of trailers for this movie. Whenever I went to the movie theaters, this was one of the movies that was just never shown in the trailers. I saw a few TV spots and I went out of my way to find a trailer for the movie before I went to see it, and I thought it was going to be maybe dragons attacking the Great Wall. Actually, the first thing I saw about this movie was the poster, the one with Matt Damon's face and the Great Wall behind him. And I saw that last year for the longest time and thought it was going to come out last year, but it never did. It came out February this year. And so with the title The Great Wall and that poster, I thought, oh, it's going to be a historical piece. It's going to be based off of real history. Nope, it's totally a fantasy movie. So I was actually kind of surprised that they were being attacked by creatures that I thought were dragons. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get into what it's about. Matt Damon in this movie is the main character, and he is a mercenary. He's Irish, I believe, though I think his accent comes in and out throughout the entire movie. But then again, I'm not good with accents, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. Anyway, he's a mercenary with a band of mercenaries, and they're going to China to try to get black powder. Well, anyway, by the time they get to the Great Wall, it's just Matt Damon's character and Pedro Pascal's character. Pedro Pascal, who was in Game of Thrones for one season because he was the prince that died, wasn't he? Anyway, they get to the wall, they're captured, they're held prisoner, and they witness these creatures attacking the Great Wall from the other side. And it turns out there's a secret war against these alien creatures, and yes, they are aliens because they fell from a meteor. The Tao Tai, I believe they call them. Basically lizard-like creatures that are a bit of a mix between a hyena with eyes on their shoulders. So they actually kind of look like Resident Evil creatures. Maybe that's an Asian thing? But this is a Chinese film and Resident Evil is Japanese, so. So on one hand, there is this great war of importance that is above and greater than their own wants and needs of this gunpowder. And on the other hand, maybe they can sneak out with the gunpowder alive. And so now Matt Damon's character is torn between those two conflicts. And there you got yourself a fantasy film. I have to say, I did like this movie and I had a fun time watching it in the movie theater. Now if you're wondering if this is a Chinese film or a US blockbuster, well, it's a little bit of both because the production was from China and the US. So in a way, it's both a US movie and a Chinese movie. Now, mainly the movie is in English because our main character is English. Well, Irish. But being that the setting is the Great Wall, there is a lot of Chinese people and only 2 of the Chinese actors in this movie speak English. Now being that it is both a Chinese production and an American production, you're probably going to come into the movie thinking one of 2 things. Either that it's an American blockbuster film set in China, only that we can pander to China, or you feel it's a Chinese film with a Chinese director that's pandering to the US to get a bigger box office and compromising his artwork. But honestly, I feel it's somewhere in the middle. I feel it is a good Chinese production meets American production, and it finds a middle ground with both the Chinese influence and style with American influence of blockbusters. So you get the pros and cons of both types of movies. And you find a middle ground within them. Yeah, honestly, I felt it was a decent mesh with an American blockbuster and a Chinese film. But I'll probably talk a little bit about that in the pros and cons. As far as the visual effects go, I found them really good. I also found the creature designs of the Tao Tai really creepy and really neat and unique. Like I said before, they're a bit of a cross between a lizard and more of a hyena, and they have eyes on their shoulders which almost remind me of a Resident Evil monster. They're also completely green. Mouth is full of razor sharp teeth. It's every time that thing opened its mouth, or any of the Tao Tai opened their mouth, I was in awe of all the teeth and all the blood dripping from their teeth as they've bitten so many people. Or maybe it's just because of how red the mouth was inside. Maybe it wasn't blood at all, but it felt like it. Which is weird because this is a PG-13 film. And I have seen PG-13 films lately with a lot of blood and gore, but it's still something that I don't expect. I'm happy to see it, but I don't expect it. There's actually 3 classes of these creatures and different designs for these different creatures. Now, even though I found the visual effects really good and the creature designs and the creatures really good as well, they always felt out of place in a way. They never felt like they were real because they're all CGI creatures. So they had a little bit of a cartoony vibe to them because you could tell definitely they were all CG. And it almost reminded me of World War Z in a way. But it was still good enough, and there was enough style that added character to the movie, and I liked the look of the creatures. The movie definitely has a lot of the cliches and a lot of the things you might expect from more of a historical fantasy. I found the action itself pretty damn epic, especially the first battle. Now, I'm not talking about the battle at the beginning with, yeah, there's one little fight at the beginning where you don't see the creature, but it makes total sense. You see it through the eye of the creature as Matt Damon fights it and cuts off his hand. Now, it does make sense that you don't see a good view of the creature in that scene because Matt Damon's character and Pedro Pascal's character do not see or do not get a good look at it themselves. So the first time you actually see the Toatai is when Matt Damon and Pedro Pascal get kidnapped and sent to the wall and they're sort of captives. Well, suddenly this siege is happening from the Toatai and you've got all this massive army of these creatures. And I feel that most people are going to find that action sequence the best of the movie because it's the most epic, it's the most grand scale. It's also the first time you see them fighting on the wall. You see it through Matt Damon and Pedro Pascal's perspective as they're figuring out all these different units and what all their jobs are in defending the wall. I could have done a little bit less commentary from those 2 characters because it would have been nice to see it visually done rather than explain what's happening. And then from then on there, the battles are a little less epic, but they never felt bad to me. They were always good. Now, to be honest, I've never seen any of the Chinese films that this director has directed before, but I do want to see a lot of the ones that I've heard about. And one of the things I heard about him is, well, he uses color very vibrantly, and there is definitely color in this movie. Yes, it does have a bit of a more American blockbuster, so it is a little bit gray and hazy. And so there's this gray grittiness, but there's still this color that really pops out in this movie. It's a little faded compared to other movies of his because I've seen stills of some of his movies and they look beautiful. But there still are beautiful moments in this movie, and whenever the color pops, it really pops. Speaking of which, I love the costume design in this movie. I don't talk about stuff like that too much, but they were really epic in this movie, especially all the Chinese soldiers. They all had different colors representing different units of the wall and different jobs, and each of the armor, if you look really closely, you can see different animals symbolizing each of the jobs for the wall. There's like a crane, there's a bear, there might be a tiger. Even through some gray haze, this movie looks absolutely stunning. Both cinematography and just the color, the set design, the costumes. Really great. There definitely is a lot of Chinese action mixed with American action in this film with slow-mo. You don't see a lot of wire tricks. You don't see a lot of like wire kung fu fighting that you've seen in other Chinese films, sometimes Japanese films. I will say there is a whole unit dedicated to bungee jumping off the wall and stabbing these creatures with spears. And there is one kind of impossible jump that's kind of edited in a way where it doesn't look impossible, but if you think about it, it's like, wait, she jumped really high. It's cut just in a way that you don't see how high that person jumped. Like I said, it is a mix of what you expect in American films with Chinese films, and there's a bit of a blend. And if you want it more Chinese, you might be disappointed. If you want it more American, you might be disappointed as well. But along with some of the US blockbuster type films that's influenced in this movie. You get a little bit more of one-dimensional characters that don't have a lot of development and a lot of backstory or a lot of just uniqueness. Now with that said, I did like the characters in this movie, one-dimensional as they are, but they were fun. Maybe it was just me putting my own feelings in these characters, but I liked a lot of them. There was this Chinese new recruit that kept popping up that Matt Damon helped and looked up to Matt Damon's character. I liked him a lot. You got the strategist who was really cool. You got the strategist, which I felt was really cool. He's played by Andy Lau, who I believe is in a few of the same movies that this director has made. Pedro Pascal was probably my favorite character in the film just because of how fun and how roguish he was. And whenever it was conversations with him and Matt Damon, I found them pretty funny and entertaining. I like the back and forth these characters had. It might be cliche, but it was fun and entertaining how it was done in this movie. I thought Matt Damon did a good job playing this character. His accent falls in and out, but I'm not big on accents. I don't nitpick about accents all that much because I'm not familiar with a lot of them. Now Matt Damon's character is one of the more developed characters because he is our main character. Now it is typical of Hollywood heroes and he might be a little one-dimensional, but he does have character development. He does have a change within him. It's just a little sometimes blatant and it's not built as well, which is kind of weird to say. His character arc is he is a mercenary who's out for his own, who's fought in many different flags, and is now stuck between finding a real purpose and a real enemy that he could unite with these other soldiers and fight, or be himself, be for himself, and steal this gunpowder and leave before the battle can consume him. So he is a character that's conflicted with fighting with the wall and fighting for a real cause, or be out for himself, follow Pedro Pascal, and get out of there with the gunpowder. And there is definitely a greed theme in this movie. While the Toatai, they represent greed, and I will say the message is blatant because the character actually says it, and I wish that they wouldn't have, because I think they could have interpreted it better visually and better throughout the actual story, rather than just say, yeah, they represent greed. But I will say that Matt Damon isn't the only character with an arc, isn't the only developed character in the movie. There's another character, a commander, a female commander on the wall, played by Tian Jing. I hope I pronounced that right. I thought she did a really good job, and I liked her character as well. Like I said, I liked all these different characters, as one-dimensional and cookie-cutter as they might be. I mean, she goes through a character development herself. She goes higher up in the army, and she's trying to get the best out of Matt Damon's character. She's trying to find the real human within the mercenary. And so I bet you know where this is going, and that these characters are going to be the two love interests, that these two are going to fall in love, and that's what Hollywood does, and that's what a lot of movies do, frankly. I will say, even though there is definitely something there might be more of a camaraderie and more of trying to get the best out of each other, because they don't end up together by the end of the movie. Like I said, there might be some romance blossomed within there, and it does have that sort of third act where she doesn't trust him anymore, kind of like the breakup scene in these types of movies. But no, they don't get together in the end. Now I will say I wasn't bored with this film in the slightest. I actually thought it went by really fast. But then again, I have a deep interest in fantasy, and this felt like a fantasy epic movie, and so this is right up my alley. So I might be a little lenient with this movie because, like I said, I am a fantasy fan, and this was fantasy. Whenever I do a fantasy review or a horror movie review, take it with a grain of salt, because usually I like those a little bit more than other genres. Now there were two things in this movie that held this back from being a really great movie for me. For one, the character development, while it is there, it builds up in a way that isn't satisfying, and there's not a lot of building blocks for his character. It just sort of happens. I wish we would have seen more of Matt Damon's character as the mercenary before this all started, while he's more cutthroat and greedy and does brutal things. I wish we would have seen him being more out for himself, but he doesn't feel like that at the beginning of the movie, and so we don't have that contrast between that and when he becomes a hero and not sacrifices, but puts his life on the line for a worthy cause. If we had that contrast, maybe it would have been better developed. Plus, there needed to be a few things here in the middle that really showed that conflict, because as the movie started, he felt like a hero and felt like he was the same person even though he wasn't. And this is yet again another movie with aliens, because they technically are aliens. Like I said, they come from a meteor, even though they're crazy creatures. They are aliens, and it's another alien movie where it's a hive and there's a queen, which is getting a little old nowadays. Other than that, I actually did really enjoy this movie. And for me, I'm going to give The Great Wall 3.5 stars. So did you see The Great Wall? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015, 2016, or 2017. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.